Do you ever stop to think about what's going on around us? Do you ever stop to think about what has happened throughout the past 8 to 10 years? The amounts of mass shootings that have happened in the United States? The amount of people that have died in those shootings? Sadly, the deadliest 3 mass shootings that have happened in this country's history have happened over the past 10 years. Starting from 2007, ending just last June with the Pulse. The first deadliest mass shooting was the Orlando shootings that happened on June 12th, 2016. The amount of people that died were 53, along with 50 non-fatal injuries, while the second deadliest shooting was a Virginia Tech, with 33 people dying and 23 non-fatal injuries. And the third was the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, which happened in Newtown, Connecticut, with 28 people dying and 3 people injured. All these shootings were caused by one person, a deranged person that had mental issues and that had the capability to hold his hands on a rifle. We need to make our gun laws stricter. How can we do that? And one way, according to the White House, that we should keep them out of the hands out of the wrong hands. The ATF, which is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, has made it clear that if someone is selling arms illegally, they shall be put in jail and fined $250,000. And also, if somebody wants to purchase or sell arms, they should have license. And their license should be renewed each 5 to 10 years. The second step is to make our community safer. The ATF has established an Internet Investigation Center to track illegal online firearms, and it's dedicating $4 million in addition to personnel to enhance the National Integration Ballistic Information Network. The third point is that we need to increase the mental health care and the background checks around here. We have a prospering new $500 million investment into increase the access. The Departments of Health and Human Services is finalizing a rule to remove unnecessary legal barriers preventing the states from reporting to relevant information about people prohibited from possessing a gun for specific mental health. We should shape our future of gun law safety, meaning we need to limit the amount of mags, bullets, and sorts of guns that we are selling to the people. Now, for the people who say that we should abolish or we should stop selling guns, I personally stand against with that person because owning a gun is part of our civil rights. It's found in the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Now, sadly, what is happening nowadays is that the Second Amendment is being abused in the wrong way. The Founding Fathers never intended for the Constitution or for the Second Amendment to be used in this way. The whole purpose of the Second Amendment was for us to protect ourselves from the tyranny of our government, which was happening all over the world during their time, and to protect ourselves from any foreign threats or domestic threats. But sadly, it's not the case today. When I hear about mass shootings that happen in the United States or even abroad, I usually think of a quote said by a Greek playwright named Aeschylus. In our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart. In our deepest despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God. What we need in the United States is not violence. What we need in the United States is not hatred or lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion, and a feeling of affection towards one another, and a feeling of justice towards those who suffer in this land, whether they be black or whether they be white. What's happening nowadays is a plague. Gun violence, we should treat our gun violence as a plague, and we have 2 ways to do this. Either the first is that this plague overtakes us and it gets the best of us, the death toll would rise, anarchy would be spread all over the country, or the other way, which is a better way, which is being able to let the NRA know that we need to prohibit the usage of for the selling domestic of semi-automatic rifles or semi-automatic pistols, because we don't need those types of weapons for domestic use. And these weapons shouldn't be used in a domestic manner. All in all, I believe in the saying quoted by Robert F. Kennedy, actually, the nominee for the 1968 presidential campaign before his assassination. It's that violence breeds violence. And if a peaceful revolution is impossible, a violent one is inevitable. Thank you.
So, Victor, your thoughts?
So you did have good eye contact, but there was times where you stared at the back wall or the floor. Your tone of voice was good, and as well as hand gestures, kind of syndicated with your speech. The topic relates to all of us because it's our safety, and your mass shootings can happen anywhere, anytime. You did cite your quotes like Washington, for like the Washington, D.C., and the White House, my bad. And the Greek Aeschylus, there you go. And you did have to use, you didn't use note cards, you used the paper, like the whole sheet of paper was kind of like awkward at the beginning. And you did have to look at the paper just for quotes, which is no big deal, but I kind of got lost before the conclusion. I didn't know where you, I just kind of got going a little off track, but other than that, good job. Thanks.
All right, Mike. Organizational stuff is still a problem here. You need a preview at the beginning of the speech. You've got kind of dramatic rhetorical questions, which I appreciated. I did think that you had some nice emotional appeals by focusing on the mass shootings that you talked about at the beginning. After the quote that you had, you kind of raised the emotional pitch to the presentation quite a bit, and I appreciate your passion and the way you communicate that, but you got to build an argument here too, and there needs to be a demonstration that some rules that you're talking about are going to make a difference. For example, the three mass shootings that you talked about, where's the demonstration that the laws that you were discussing would have prevented those sorts of things, that those guns were obtained illegally or in violation of the rules, or that having a license would have prevented people from having access to that? That's a very practical component of the argument that doesn't get developed. So your passion and the emotional appeal that you make in the last part of the speech isn't going to be sufficient to overcome people's reservation about whether or not there's proof on that particular argument. It just doesn't feel like it's organized very well when it comes to developing the argumentative part. I can kind of see a motivated sequence that's going on here, because you do have an opening that deals with some attention, and then you do try and show us what the problem is. Your solution, I think, needs to be developed a lot more. But you do have, like I said, I thought a very passionate visualization that you're talking about. On the delivery issues, I'm going to agree with Victor. That big paper in your hand at the beginning is really annoying and irritating, and here we are at the end of the term, and you're not supposed to have anything, much less an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. If you're going to have some notes, make them small cards so that they're easy for you to use. You got it out of your hand about a quarter of the way, a third of the way into the speech. You've got the nervous feet. You're all over the place while you're talking. I think Victor's right. You do look at the audience pretty regularly, but there are also long periods of time when you are kind of looking at the wall behind us too. And so you want to be, I think, a little bit more engaged. All right, thank you.